Okay, so hi SEO. I just recorded like a 20-30 minute video and realized I didn't have the right mic input on the recording software, so I'm gonna be I'm gonna be really fast with this, but it's good because I know what to do. We'll be streamlined. Um, so I'm gonna show you how to do the sweeps and the contour and everything that we talked about yesterday, and just how quickly you can be iterating your building once you get this done. So I started with a rough rectangle. That's kind of the shape and size of your building. Um, 50 feet by 100 feet. And I left this 10-foot gap in between. Just so proportionally everything's nice. And I drew in some curves from before I started. And these are all just regular uh, degree 1 2-point curves. Um, what we can do is select all of them and rebuild, and I turned it up to 6 in the point count and 2 in the degree. We'll say OK. And what we can do is turn on this points, show point, control point on battery over here. And then what you'll want to do now is type selection filter right here. And mine's on down here, and this bar, this is where it is. This is what yours will look like, but I like to pull mine down in here to have it. Um, and you'll see it'll give you a bunch of options of types of objects in Rhino. And so you'll want to turn off disable so that it's on. And then you'll want to unclick everything except for control points. That way we can easily just select the control points and start to make our adjustments. We can move them up with the gumball, scale them in on each other, move these up with the gumball, scale them in on each other. Maybe let me think about how your building was looking. So we can move all these up. We'll take these down. We'll actually move all these up at once. Maybe we can scale them all in like that at once. Might be interesting. Okay, well I accidentally deselected my curve, so we'll disable this. Select our curve, turn the control points on, and come back. We'll disable and come back. So maybe we pick these up just a little bit at the end, pull them in. We leave these down, maybe these come up. Right here, and then maybe these can come up. I'm not exactly sure, but you want to be making as many of these moves like together as you can. So this might start to get annoying. I might just turn it off completely. But you want to be making these moves together so that they're like globally affecting each other. That way that all of these moves that we're making right here are in tandem with one another, and it doesn't feel random and arbitrary. It doesn't feel random, but a bit more like arbitrary and controlled. So I mean, like, this is getting interesting. I had something like this over here. So maybe we'll loft it and we'll see what it looks like. It's not great. I liked how drastic this one was. So maybe we drop these down and we pull this in. And let me do that on both sides. So select these curve points too, drop them down, pull them in. Maybe that's enough. Yeah, it looks a bit more like what you had. So then I'm going to take these curves right here, hold Alt so I make a copy, hit the Scale 1D button on the gumball, and type 0 so that it flattens it out. Now I'm going to move, type move or MO, select an endpoint, hold Shift, get this vertical lock here, then press Tab so that we're locked onto it. We can now let go of Shift. And then if we have our person drawn beforehand, we can just use our person as a reference point to the ground plane. Okay. So now we have our curves to loft. We'll maybe move this one in 1 foot. -1. We can do -2. We can bring this one in another foot. Then we'll take our curves here and do the same thing. Hold Alt on the gumball scale, type 0, hit enter. Take your curves, press MO to move. Select an end, hold Shift, get on the lock for a vertical line. Press Tab so that you're stuck on it and locked on it. Move your lines to the ground plane. And maybe we move this in another 2 feet again. I don't know. And we can loft. And that's not amazing. So maybe we take the opposite approach. We move it out 1 foot. Just a little bit. And now we take this curve and this curve and we loft. And we take this curve and this curve and we loft. And then we can loft these together. We can loft these together. And I'd leave it. This needs to be higher probably. So we'll go ahead and take these. Just to make sure that there's enough head height for our human scale right here, or human scaly. We'll kind of take all these points that are a bit low. And I'm just going to move them up. Maybe these need to get moved up just so that they respond a little bit better. And these can come down just so that they're a bit more extreme. And I'll redo all our lofts. Select, spacebar, loft. I'm going to select all these at once. And Control Shift selecting. I'm going to Alt select the gumball scale, 0, enter. I have them all here. Now they're all flat and on the same plane. I'm going to move. Click this, hold Shift, get on the vertical snap, lock it with the tab, bring it down to our ground plane human scale figure. Now I'm going to loft all these together. So click, click, loft. I forgot I got to move this in. I got to move this one in. And then I got to move this one out. And this one out. So now I'll take these curves, loft, enter, enter, select, shift select, spacebar, select, shift select, spacebar, select, shift select, spacebar. Alright, now we have everything. So we're going to join these surfaces that we have now lofted. And actually I'm also going to kind of go back. reloft, which is annoying, but okay, no, we're good. It was on straight sections. I just wasn't sure if it was on straight sections. So now we have these joined surfaces, or we can do cell surf join. So now we have these joined surfaces. What we'll do is contour. And I said, you know, maybe 5 feet yesterday for the spacing, but I think something like 10 feet might be, or I'm sorry, like 2 feet might be more appropriate if you're going to use wood. And I really liked this path that we had here, so I'm going to go back to this iteration just to show you the rest of the video. But you can see how you can quickly iterate that stuff. Okay. So I'm gonna work with this guy now. And I'll hide this and keep it for later. So you have your kind of rough form. We're gonna select them. And we're gonna contour. And you're gonna take the endpoint, hold shift to get it on a horizontal line, then press tab so it's locked. Bring it to the other end, and then set the distance. You know, I said 2, so it's in feet, so we'll type 2 feet. Enter. Enter. I don't know why it's doing that. Click. Okay, yeah, so I guess you have to click. So then it contoured it for us. And what we'll do now is we'll hide the surfaces so that we just have the curves. And now we can work with getting our fillets and sweeps. I have this Grasshopper script made already from the other video. It's really short. So I'm just going to go through and remake it and just walk you through everything. So when you open Grasshopper, it's going to look like this. You know, you'll have your file that we worked on yesterday maybe, and then all these blue ones which are presets. And you'll have some tabs up here. Parameters, maths, sets, vectors, curves, surfaces are really all you need to worry about right now if you're ever interested in using this stuff at this point in school, but there's a lot more you can download online. You know, yours is probably way less packed than mine, but it should be really easy. You type commands just like Grasshopper, or just like a Rhino. Instead of Rhino just typing when you're, you know, working, here you have to double click. It'll bring up a search bar, and you just type what you want. So here we want polylines. Oh, that's going to make a polyline. But if we select on Rhino, you know, it says 2 curves. Okay, well, they're curves, I guess. And we'll also select these and ungroup. Okay. So they're curves. So we'll just go ahead and make a curve component. And so when you have a component, like from here, that is like this black hexagon, if we do line, you'll see there's line where it's asking you to construct a line with 2 points, or line where it's asking for line as a data object in Rhino. So you'll want to select this curve battery. And then in Rhino, now what we're going to do is we're going to select all the curves we got from the contour. Just those curves though. And we're going to right click. It's going to pull up our menu where we kind of interact with these batteries. And we're going to set multiple curve. So now we can hide all these on Rhino. And you'll see that they're referenced in Grasshopper. And they light up green whenever we click the battery that's being displayed. Cool. Simple enough. Just to show you, I'm going to pull up a panel. Panel is an extremely useful tool in Grasshopper, and yours will probably be yellow, but I'm not going to worry about that right now, as it lets you see all the data in a battery. So you can see in here all 100 because it starts at 0 curves are here in this battery. And so in Grasshopper, what we're doing is applying commands across all of these objects at once, essentially. And the really special thing about this tool is that you're able to manage this data to get different results in your model and create variation very quickly. So if we do a fillet now, really typical CAD command, it wants a curve, we'll give it our curves, and it wants a radius. So we can make a number slider really easily. This is a shortcut that I like to use by saying I like to start at whatever my minimum is. You can't do negative degrees or fillets, but you can start negative if you want. So -10. If you do less than 0, less than 10, we have a number slider that goes back to 10 and up to 10. And we can also do like 0, less than 0.15, less than 1. So now that we're in decimals, and since we're in feet, this is technically going to be in our inches. Like if we're working in inches with real nominal objects in a feet file, this is how we work in inches in Grasshopper. So anyway, we'll go ahead and just plug in the number slider that we made into the radius of the fillet. And you'll see once we crank it up, it starts to get affected. Can't go negative, so I'm just going to delete this and make a new one. So you'll see there's changes happening, but the visuals are overlapping. So unless you tell Grasshopper, you tell this battery, right click, turn preview off, or you can also select it and hit the middle mouse button and do this. It's going to show both of them. But now you can see that this fillet is actually working on this on these curves that we have here. So let's say like 3. Let's make it kind of extreme. These like tubes, these funnels. Alright, so now we have to set up our sweep. So again, maybe we're working with wood, so we can make a rectangle. And so again, this is just asking for a rectangle, but this one is asking you to construct a rectangle. And so the X size and the Y size is basically the length and width. And if we're going to do like a 2x4, it's like 0.16 by 0.33. It's pretty much 2 inches by 4 inches. Plug it into the X and Y. And you'll see that Grasshopper automatically makes a plane, this thing right here, one locally defined value world XY, which is right here at the center of our construction plane of this grid. And you can see the 2x4 right here. If we adjust it, you can see it gets bigger, gets wider as we adjust the number slider. Okay. And so you would think, okay, what if I just plug in the curve into the plane? And you see, oh, okay. The rectangles are getting placed on the curves, which is good. That's kind of where we want to be. But they're not oriented correctly. Some of them are okay over here, but then other ones are like totally like parallel with it, and that's not going to sweep right. If we try and do a sweep 1, so I'll show you how sweep works in Rhino first. So sweep lets you say, again, if we're doing the example of like a piece of wood or something, I'll move it here. Sweep 1 lets you say a rail, like a line that you're using as a rail. It lets you take a section shape and move it like along that rail. Sweep it along that rail. Sweep 2 is cool because it lets you select 2 rails, and then sweep shape, and it tries to like average it. We have this thing placed weird, but you see it fanned out. Maybe if it'll be better if we oriented this thing over here. So if we said sweep 2, rail, rail, sweep shape, yeah, you can see like it's taking this profile and moving it along these 2 lines, these 2 rails. Anyway, the way that this object is oriented has a lot to do with how that sweep is working. If we take this thing now and we move it flat and we try and sweep 1, rail, object, it's flat, you know. I mean, it worked, but it's not, it doesn't have depth. This thing is just like paper. That's what's gonna happen here. So if we plug in our rail, okay, which is all these curves, we'll plug it in here, all these curves. We plug in our section, which was this guy right here. First of all, it's not even going to work. It's going to say it doesn't work. And so that's why data management is important in Grasshopper. This is like an issue I ran into, why we couldn't figure it out yesterday. Even the way that this is laid out, this dark gray, and then this 0, this 1, this is so important. And this is telling you like the family in which the data is in. I'm not going to get in too much into it and confuse you, but all you need to know is you right click graft. That's going to give each of these their own little individual section. Say 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2. So it's giving them all, they're all in like their own individual family at this point. They're not all grouped together like they were. I'll drag this off over here, where they're all on one family. There's 100 pieces of data in one family. Here there's 100 families, I guess, of data with one member each. So instead of trying to apply this sweep across all of these at once, it's going to apply this sweep to one at a time. It's kind of the logic. But you can see it's still flat. It's still not right. So what we need to do is fix the planes that these are on. So we'll go ahead and preview off everything except for the fillet. I'll turn that back on. And we are going to come over to sets. I'm sorry, sets. Nope. Instead we'll go to curves. Curves. Or we'll type perp frames, which is in here in the division option. So perp frames is going to look crazy. We're going to plug in our curve that it's asking for, which is this fillet thing that we're trying to place the rectangle on. And it's going to evenly divide each of these curves and place a frame on there that's like kind of perfectly aligned, not perfectly aligned, but as best aligned as Grasshopper thinks with the curvature of the input curve. And so the count is saying how many it wants. So it has 10 right here. If we hover over it, it says one locally defined value at 10. You can make a number slider from 0 to 1. One. That way we just have one frame on each end. And so now we have these planes, aka our frames. And when the rectangle is asking for a plane, what we can do is instead say, hey, instead of using the end of this curve, use these frames that we're giving it instead. to draw your sweep. So if we turn all this off, we'll see now that there's thickness to it, and it's really nicely aligned. And so maybe now, nope. Now we have these, but I was trying to show you something else, but we'll leave it at that. That's how simple it can be. So those purple boxes you saw before was just me taking these, hitting my middle mouse button and this little green fidget spinner thing, and grouping all these together so that if you ever want to use this again in the future, you can really easily know what you got to input and what everything is doing. So now you're wondering, okay, I have this thing, what do I do in Rhino? Now that we're done, you're going to right click on the sweep, bake, just put it in any layer you want, and now it's here. I had the thing turned off, so we'll preview that off, and now you have it in Rhino. And it's already looking nice. But you're wondering, okay, Owen, how do I enclose this thing? I'm kind of seeing two, so let me go ahead and take this. I also cap holes. Yeah, and here it looks good. Just making sure. So now we'll take this, bake, layer 5. Okay, everything looks good. Preview this off. So now these should be solid. Nice, okay. So you're wondering, how am I going to enclose this? We're going to come back over to Grasshopper really quick, bake all of our curves in. Maybe we can do that on another layer, layer 4. We're going to select all of them at once and loft them together. Maybe we'll do a straight section loft again. Maybe we don't have to here, just because it's doubly curved now, so we'll say normal. Yeah, that way the display of the object is actually a lot nicer. We'll select this one, we'll say loft. Okay. And we can take these, say cell curve, hide all those, turn these back on, and you're starting to see how this thing would be enclosed. You know, we can make some minor tweaks so that we can make sure that all the curves or these like lofts, these green lofts, are both on the outside or both on the inside. But I mean, you can see kind of how nice this is already. I don't like how this looks. But you can see how nice this is starting to look. And you're wondering, okay, nice. What about doors? Like, I want my doors in the hallway. What we can do is we can draw out a rectangle that is 6 feet wide. I'd give it an arbitrary distance. We'll say 20 feet long. And then 7 feet 6 inches tall. And you're going to use this thing to boolean out some doors if you want, like along here. So we'll say boolean split. We'll select all down here. Now we'll select this thing as the cutting object. And we can start to delete these guys out. And if we turn this back on and this on, we'll try and Boolean split, but it's not gonna work. Yeah, it's not gonna work. It's a weird naked edge issue, so what we have to do is hide all these. Draw a rectangle. And then say wire cut. Select this thing as a cutting curve. The green is the object to cut, and you want to make sure it goes all the way through. No, it's not going to work either. Okay. We're going to turn these off so we can actually see. We're going to do our little pan trick, so we're going to pan around, hold Shift Control. It's going to lock us in this view. We're going to select this curve that we just drew and type trim. We're going to go back to our pan, Control Shift, lock. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're here. We're going to trim. Now we have that doorway. So if we show all this stuff again, and we come back and we show that, hide this. We'll draw another rectangle, hide it, pan, Control Shift, select our curve, trim, and then boom, you know, we're starting to get some ideas about doors and openings on here. It's not perfect, but it's kind of looking nice. And so you're starting to see we can take our scale figure and, you know, start to put them in space and see what that's looking like. And it's looking nice. So that was 33 minutes. I think, you know, it might take you twice that amount of time just to keep up and understand everything, but hopefully you can really iterate fast and you can see like how this relates to what you were looking at. Obviously, you know, once you start to learn more, you can make the adjustments to pull like portions of this wood member down and adjust that, but for now I think this is something that you could achieve reasonably easily and begin to work on your floor plan and like continue to work on your floor plan and embed it into finalized form and roof. So that's that. I'll leave you be. The video is long enough.